You know all those decor pieces that we buy and we love them for a season and then we get a little bored with them, so we toss them on a shelf in a closet somewhere and forget about them. But then you go to clean out a closet and you're like, oh yeah, I remember that piece. But it still feels a little old and boring and drab, and you wonder to yourself, what can I do with this? Well, y'all, stick with me because today I'm going to show you how you can take some of those old, boring, drab pieces and breathe new life into them. Hello, my sweet friends. Welcome back. It is so good to see all of you. I hope this finds you all well and happy. I am so glad that you are here. I'm so glad that you stopped by and took time out of your day to come and hang with me. I've got some fun things planned for us today. We are going to be upcycling some decor pieces that I have had sitting on shelves for a long time, just kind of hidden way back on a shelf amongst all my decor pieces. And I started thinking about some of these pieces and was like, oh, I think I want to bring those out again. And then as I did, I kind of looked at them and went, I'm not sure I really like them. But then, of course, the light bulbs went off in my head and I'm like, I think we can make these pieces really fun and beautiful again. So today I have got 5 different pieces that I'm going to share with y'all. We're going to upcycle them and just give them some new life. So are y'all ready to go do a little DIY upcycling? All right, friends, let's go. First project is going to be this really pretty vase that I have, and I purchased this many years ago when I was really loving all things white. Those days are long gone, and now I'm just in that phase where I want lots of color in my life. So we're going to give this piece a lot of color and just breathe some new life into it and make it feel fresh and different. That's what I love about working on projects like this, just upcycling a piece, is because once it's all said and done, it feels and looks like a completely different piece. So I think that's one of my favorite parts of this, just watching it change and transform. So to start, the first thing I did was come in with a base coat. I'm using Waverly chalk paint here in the color Mineral, and I'm going to put 2 coats on here. So I put the first base coat on, let that dry really well, and then came in and did a second coat. And something to keep in mind when you are painting a vessel like this, you want to make sure that you do get that inside around the top part of the neck of your vessel. Paint that inside because that does show and you do see it. So by painting the inside, you're just giving it that finished, polished, intentional look. So here it is, all dry. It's got 2 coats of paint on it, and now it's ready for us to just start bringing in a few details. We want to just bring in some highlights and some lowlights and a little bit of shadowing and some shading. So for this step, I am going to be dry brushing everything. And when I dry brush, I really dry brush. So I make sure that my brush is completely dry and I tap probably 90% of the paint off of my brush. And then I use a very gentle hand to do this. So the first color I'm starting with here is a little bit of burnt umber. And I'm just going to go around some of those places on the vessel that you would see like a natural shadow or whatnot. I kind of treat these pieces as if I'm actually creating a painting. A lot of times that's how I approach it. So I'll just go ahead and continue brushing a little bit of this burnt umber onto the vase in a variety of different places. Again, like I said, in some of those places where you would see like a natural shadow, or in a place like on the textured part, the raised part, where you kind of want to enhance that and give it just a little depth. So I'll go ahead and do that to all of the places on this vase. And I'm not really setting out here to cover the whole entire vase. I just want to cover certain parts to really make those sections of the vase pop and give it lots of depth. trick that helps me a lot when I am dry brushing is to hold my brush in more of a sideways position. Rather than holding it flat, I work it sideways across my piece, and I do like to let my bristles get really frayed out. I mean, I don't try to destroy my brush, but I do think letting your bristles get semi-frayed out really helps to achieve that dry brushed look. So I'm just going to keep working on this piece by adding in lots and lots and lots of layers. And of course, this step really kind of depends on the look that you are trying to achieve. For me, I kind of wanted to give this piece a little bit of that aged, found, worn, antique-y look. So I am going to work in a ton of layers. I just start piling on paints. Something else to keep in mind is try not to use too many colors when you are doing this, because it is really easy to end up getting a lot of clutter on your piece, if that makes sense. So I just simply chose 3 colors to work with. I think that really helps keep everything well balanced. So I'm just going to keep working this piece, adding in lots and lots of different layers. And the more layers that you add, the more this piece will start to come to life. And something to always remember when you're working on a piece like this, everything always goes through an ugly phase, no matter what it is, whether it's art, whether it's upcycling, a decor piece, it goes through an ugly phase. Like I feel like this one is right now at this point. But I'm just going to keep working it, keep adding in a bunch of layers. Don't give up on it. The more layers that you add, the more this piece will start to come together, and it'll start to, you'll know when it has sort of reached that place of it's starting to look finished. And I'm getting close to that point here where I feel like I've added in enough layers. I've given it lots of depth, lots of dimension, lots of highlights, lots of lowlights, and it's looking pretty done to me. One thing I do struggle with is knowing when to stop. And you can go overboard. So just be mindful of that when you're working on a piece like this. I feel like it's looking pretty done. I feel like I've sort of achieved what I was going for here. I've just brushed on, and one thing I did do was in some areas I brushed the paint on a little heavier than in others to just give it a spotty look. Sometimes that spotty look is what kind of helps bring that aged feel to a piece, because it makes it feel like maybe that side was the side buried in the dirt or something, and it just got a little extra dirty. So that is something else that you can do, a little tip and trick there to keep in mind if you're really trying to go for that aged look. So to finish this off, I'm just going to come in and lightly, very lightly sand a few places on this to just kind of bring out that original white color. And then this piece is going to be finished, y'all. And I'm happy with it. I think it turned out really good. And it really is a drastic change. So we started out with just this plain white vase and went from this white vase to this. I like it. Y'all will have to let me know what you think. Second project, we are going to work on these really cute tin containers or canisters that I have actually had for a very long time. These have actually been in my studio for a really long time. I use them, I keep them on my shelf, and I've been using them to store like my paper clips and clip binders and whatnot. And they're perfect for that type of office supply thing. However, I am really kind of just really tired and a little bored with the whole tin look. So I think we can really transform these pieces. And my idea for these is to kind of give them a little bit of that ceramic pottery look. So the first thing I did was peel all of the stickers on and then give them a really good cleaning. And then I'm going to come in and give them all a base coat of black chalk paint. And I think doing a base coat is really, really important if you're going to faux pottery a piece, because that base coat is what helps our faux clay, so to speak, or our faux pottery properly adhere to the piece. So I'll go ahead and get all of these painted with a base coat of black. We'll just do that really, really quickly, and then we can move on to the super fun part of really transforming these pieces. When applying the base coat to these pieces, I was not trying to be super precise by getting a full coverage because we still have a lot of things we're going to add to this. So if you don't get a full coverage when doing this step, I don't think it's really going to make or break the project. So I did go ahead and let that first coat fully dry. And then see how this has these little ridges on it? Because I think it was supposed to resemble a tin can. Well, y'all, I want to change that. So we're going to get a little crazy here. I want to come in and fill these ridges in, and I'm just going to use some hot glue to do this because I thought it would be the easiest way to approach this. The look that I'm trying to go for is, you know, those vases, these vases right here, you see that have the ridges on it. This is what I want to try and accomplish with this piece. Now, whether or not we pull it off is yet to be seen, but we're sure going to give it our best shot. So I just work slowly around this, put on a line of the hot glue, let it kind of sit for a second, and then I just keep going. I'm going to go all the way around this, and I'm not going to fill in every single one of these ridges. I just want to do on this smaller can, I think I just want to do 3 of them, and then on the bigger can, I'm going to do 5. I am putting this hot glue on though very thick because I really want these to pop off the can and really stand out. It is a little hard, I'm not going to lie, it was really hard for me to get a straight line. I think that is okay though, because a lot of times when you see those vases that have those really cool ridges on them, they're not perfect anyway. They're not a perfect straight line, and there's a lot of texture to them. So I wasn't too worried about getting a perfectly straight line while working on this. Okay, so I got it done. I got all of our fun little ridges applied to these, and yeah, they're definitely not straight. There's going to be a lot of texture in these because I did get a few drips. And by the time I got to the big one, I was like a little over this process. It was time consuming, I won't lie. It took me a little while to do this. And I started to get a little messy, but that's okay because I think it's going to work out all right. So here's what we have. This is our jumping off point, and now we can go ahead and start applying some faux pottery to these and just really bring it together. So I'm going to start by using baking soda. I would like to have used drywall mud, but I didn't have any. So baking soda is the next best thing. And I am mixing it with paint. I used chalk paint in the color Mineral. I really want these to kind of have a light color to them. You do want to mix this till it's like a very thick milk shaky consistency. So the first thing I'm going to do is brush on. Now I'm literally brushing, sort of painting on our first coat. This is going to be what gives us our initial covering of our faux pottery. After I get the first coat on, we'll come in and start adding some texture. So for now, let's just go ahead, get that first coat put onto these and have fun playing in the mud. As I was painting these lids, I did want to be very careful and mindful not to let a lot of clay, our faux clay, build up on the lid because I do want these to fit nicely on the canister. So that is something to just keep in mind. All right, so now we're going to start adding in our texture. However, before doing this, make sure that your first layer is thoroughly dry before doing this or it won't work. So to add the texture, we're literally going to just start pouncing our paint on. Because this is so thick, we've added the baking soda and that's what gives us all this beautiful texture. But it is very thick, so it pounces on really nicely and it holds its shape. So I am covering this very heavy. I do a very thick, heavy coat and just go around the whole entire surface, pouncing this paint on until the whole thing is thoroughly covered. And here's what we have. I did let this dry overnight because again, you want to make sure that this is thoroughly dry before moving on to the next step. And it's looking pretty good so far, y'all. I think we've pulled it off. I think we are on to something here. Okay, so let's go ahead and add just a little bit of highlights, lowlights, a little dimension to this, just kind of bring it all together, finish it off by adding in some of our darker colors. So I am starting with this really pretty tan color that is just barely a shade darker than our original color. It's sort of a tannish white color, and it really is reading white as I was applying it to this, which is great because it's that perfect color to give us those highlights. So I dry brush this over the entire thing. And I'm not really being clean and tidy here. I am being purposely messy with this step. Now I want to just come in and add a little bit darker color to the very bottom of this. I don't want this to look like rusty tin though, so I definitely want to keep this looking like a piece of pottery. I mean, I know we all know that this was tin to start, and it still does resemble a little bit of that tin look, but we're changing it. I think it's starting to look really good. So I don't want the bottom of this to look rusty, but I definitely want it to have some shadow at the bottom. So I'm just coming in with some burnt umber mixed with some oatmeal color, not oatmeal the cereal, and just adding a little to the bottom of this. And then I come in and add a little bit to the very top, and then just do a teeny smidge of it through the center part of it. And I think I'm going to call this piece done. I really don't want to get too crazy with this step because I don't want this piece to look super aged. I want this to have more of that fresh, new look feel to it. So I do not add a whole lot of these accent colors to it. I think it looks pretty good. I'm liking it. I think our ridges in particular look pretty good. You would never know that that was hot glue on there. So I'm going to do that same exact thing to our little guy, and I think that will come close to finishing these off. Well, y'all, what do we think? I'm kind of liking it. I do think that these are kind of cool. I think I'm going to like just that they look different and they don't have that same just plain old boring tin look to them. So let's go ahead, put the lids on, make sure that they're going to sit snug on there and close properly because I don't want these to have gaps. I am really hoping that the lids fit nicely. If they don't, you could come in and sand a little bit of that texture off the bottom because I had to do that with this bigger one. The lid wasn't sitting quite flat, but overall, I think these turned out pretty good. I'm happy with them. I think they're fun. Y'all are going to have to let me know what you think of this. So let's take a look at what we started with. We started with just these plain old, boring, drab, silver tins and really transformed these into some cool looking pieces. I don't think I could be happier with how well these turned out. For this project, I want to take this plain old boring salad bowl and turn it into a stunning cookie jar. How are we going to do that? Well, I'm so glad y'all asked. So I am going to do this in multiple steps. The first thing I want to do is create a base for this because I do not want to permanently attach any of these wood pieces to this glass bowl so that I can still easily clean the glass bowl part. So we're going to start with multiple pieces. Michael actually made all of these pieces for me, but you could easily do this with prefabbed craft boards or project boards from like Hobby Lobby or whatnot. Hobby Lobby has all kinds of these cool pieces that you could easily recreate this with without having to cut your own pieces. So the first thing I want to do is stain all of my wooden pieces. And I really didn't want these to look super rustic. I kind of want more of a sophisticated feel to these. However, I do want it to be stained. I didn't want to do a solid color on that. So the first thing I thought was that I would try to stain them with just some black paint and do a wet distressing on it, and I did not like the way it was looking at all. So then I added another layer and came in and dry distressed it. I kind of wiped it off like you would a normal stain, and I still felt like it was looking a little drab. So that's why I started with the bottom of this piece, because if it didn't turn out, nobody would ever see it. So then I thought, okay, I know what I want to do here. So I came in and did some watered down black paint, and then I came over the top of that with some watered down antiquing wax and sort of blended them all together and then let it sit there for a few minutes and then came and wiped it off. And you can definitely see it gave it a lot more oomph to it. It added just more depth and it kind of brought out that wood grain just a little bit better. So that is what I'm going to go ahead and do to all of these pieces. I'm just simply brushing on some watered down black paint and then some watered down antiquing wax, kind of blend it together and then wipe it away. Let it sit for a couple of seconds and then wipe it away. I let it sit for just a couple minutes maybe to give it time to amply soak into the wood. And this is what we got, and I really love it. I love how you kind of get a little bit of that streaky look to it. So that was the bottom I started with, and I like the second attempt so much better. So we have all of the pieces completely stained and sealed. I did seal all of these with antiquing wax, or not antiquing wax, just regular wax. Now I want to go ahead and assemble. Oh my goodness. Let's get the words out there. So I'm going to start by gluing all of these pieces together. This is the lid, and the lid has 3 pieces to it. You know, it has the inner piece that keeps it tight on our container, and then our top piece, and then a fun little accent piece at the very, very top. So I put the screw in first before I add the glue so that I can get everything perfectly centered, and brushed on a little bit of glue in a fairly thin layer. I don't want any squeeze out on this, so I did try to be super careful, not letting it get super close to the edges. And if I did get some on the edges, I made sure it was pretty thin. Then we'll go ahead and pop on the next piece, and I will just repeat that with all 3 of the lid pieces and then clamp them together and let that sit for a while to completely set up. Oh yeah, let's not forget to put our knob on the very top of this before clamping it. So I stuck the knob on, and I found these really beautiful knobs on Amazon, and I'll have them linked for y'all in our supply list. So now that the knob is on, we'll go ahead and clamp these and set them aside for a little while to let that glue fully set up and give it some good cure time. The struggle was a little real there. Okay, so now while that is set aside and letting that glue dry, I'm going to go ahead and attach the bottom pieces. So I do want our cookie jar to have a pedestal on it. So Michael cut this little piece for me out. This is going to be what, gives us our pedestal look. And then he created this tray for me too. But like I said, you can find these pre-manufactured pieces in the like project wood section at like Hobby Lobby, or even Home Depot. Lowe's have some of these as well. And then you could just use a candlestick as your pedestal part. So my pedestal has the base, the plate part where our salad bowl is going to sit down into, and then we have the pedestal, which could be a candlestick. You could just, repurpose a candlestick for that. And then I did want to give this a little extra stability, so I'm adding just a second round to the very bottom of this. And I did glue all of these pieces together, as well as screw them, attach them with screws so that they had lots of stability and would, securely hold up our glass bowl. So just like that, we've created a really cool cookie jar out of that plain old glass bowl. I really love it. So let's see how the lid fits. Got to clean it off a little bit. It got a little dust on it. So I'm going to clean that off a little. Come on. Yeah, go ahead. Come on. Hurry, hurry, hurry. I'm so excited. There we go. So now we got the lid on, and y'all, I think this is stunning. So let's take a look at what we did here. So we started with just this plain old boring drab salad bowl, which is beautiful if you want to use it for salad. But if you want to make it a cookie jar, ta-da! I think it is beautiful. I love this piece so much. I found these jars in my closet when I was cleaning not too long ago, and I actually really love the shape of the glass jar itself. I think it is so pretty, but I hate the lid and I hate the pulls that are on them, which is why I stuck them in a closet to begin with. So as I was cleaning out that closet, I pulled them out, and I actually had these in my Goodwill pile, my to donate pile. But then I started thinking, I really do love the little jar itself. And we could easily change these by just painting the lids and putting new knobs on. So that is what we're going to do. This is going to be such an easy project, but the transformation is incredible. So I can't wait for y'all to see. Anyway, so let's do some prep here. Let's get the little rubber gaskets pulled off, get all the old pulls pulled off, and then we need to do a little prep work on these lids because they do have a little bit of that clear sealer on it. So we want to sand that off because oftentimes paint won't actually stick to that shiny sealer. So I'm just going to come in, give them a little sanding to get rid of all of that sealant, and then we can clean them up really good and get them painted. For the paint on these, I am using chalk paint. I really do think that when upcycling a piece like this and you want to paint it, chalk paint definitely has a tendency to stick better to pieces like this, especially a wood piece that has had some sealant on it. Even though we sanded them, it's impossible to get all that sealer off. So chalk paint is just my go-to paint when repainting or resurfacing a piece like this. I love chalk paint for a lot of reasons because it sticks, it has a really good adhesion, plus it dries really, really fast. So I covered this whole thing, did all of them in several coats of paint. I do believe I did 3 coats of paint, let each layer dry pretty good before doing the next. Once they were completely dry, thoroughly dried, I did want to come in and seal these. So I just sealed them with a little bit of, this is a food grade wax. It's like a oil wax sealer thingy that we had. I can't even remember what it's called, but I'll find it and link it in the description box for y'all. So I did want to seal these pretty good. So I put that on, let that wax sealer, I let it sit for about 15 minutes, and then I just come away and wipe away all of the excess. Okay, so these lids did have those little screws that the pull was attached to, and the screw hole didn't go all the way through. So I left those in while painting so that I didn't get paint down inside those holes. And then I came in and pulled all of those screws out, and then I had to drill this hole all the way through to get my new pulls on. So I did that to all 3 lids, cleaned them up again, got all that sawdust off, and then come in and just simply add our new pulls to the tops of these. These pulls are so pretty. I almost want to change all the pulls on my kitchen cabinets with these because I just think they are stunningly beautiful. Now that we have the lids completely done, we can go ahead and reinstall our little rubber gaskets here, the little seals. And y'all, we are going to have the cutest little jars. I cannot believe I did not think to do this sooner. I almost gave these away, y'all. So this is a perfect example. Oh, aren't they so cute? So really, this is a perfect example of don't throw things away. So this is what we started with, just these plain old boring lit jars. Well, the jars are not boring, but the lids and the pulls were super ugly, and then we transformed them into this. I love these now, and I am so excited to have them styled in the studio. Our last project for today is this cute little tin plate thingy. It kind of looks like a pie plate almost, but honestly, I think this was, I found this at Walmart in the garden center. It's one of those dishes that you can set your planter in so that so it doesn't leak water all over your furniture. And I thought it was so cute. I've had it for years, and it's been a staple piece in the studio because I keep my watercolor paint tubes in it, which is perfect because it lets them be easily accessible to me. However, the tin just wasn't doing it for me anymore. I'm really moving away from that farmhouse decor style and going a lot more contemporary in my home. So I thought instead of throwing this away, let's just give it a little makeover. So I came in with some black chalk paint and painted the whole entire thing. And then to give this just a little extra sparkle and pizzazz, I thought it would be fun to come in with some of this metallic gold paint. This is a Folk Art brand, and it's so pretty. I love how it just adds so much to this little tin and gives it kind of a feel of sophistication. Plus, it seemed very feminine to me, which I really loved because it sits in my studio and I see it all of the time. So I'm gonna repurpose this and just continue using it for all of my watercolor paint tubes. But how fun is this, y'all? So this is another really good example of why we don't throw things away and we simply just upcycle them, give them a makeover, and give them a whole new look. So after I got the gold paint around the edges, I did dry brush this on, by the way, and just did it very light hand over all of those ridges, and it just made the little ridges pop, which I thought was cool. So after I did that, I did come in and add some gold across the very top of this and a little tiny bit to the inside. And then I painted the little feet gold as well, and then let all of that paint dry thoroughly. And then once that was done, I will come in and seal this just to give it a little extra sheen because I don't really want it to have that flat chalk paint look to it. Looking good, looking good. I am so impressed with how well this turned out, y'all, and it was such an easy transformation. We changed the entire look of this with paint. It never ceases to amaze me how by simply painting something, you can change the entire look of the piece. So let's take a look at what we started with, this boring, drab, plain old tin piece. And by simply adding some paint, we turned it from this to this. And I love it. I think I'm going to keep this piece around for a while.
Okay, well, I just have to say that I had a blast working on all of these pieces, and I love the transformations. It is literally night and day between these pieces, and they were so fun for me to work on. It was fun just watching each of the pieces take shape and take on new life and become a completely different piece. I love them all, like I said. I think the only one that doesn't really have a lot of that wow factor as far as transformation goes is the cute little tray that we made, the little like almost pie tin looking piece that I keep all my watercolor paints in. And that's a piece that I've actually been using all this time I've used it, but I just got a little tired of that, you know, silvery gray tin color. So I thought painting it black and splashing in a little gold might give it a little extra pizzazz, but it's a little underwhelming. The rest of the pieces though, wow, did we really transform them. I think of the 5 in order of favorites, the cookie dish is my absolute favorite. I love how that piece turned out, and that's going to become a new staple item in my decor pieces. Just taking a bowl and transforming it into a really cool cookie jar. Pretty cool if you ask me. And then I love the vase. I love our sweet little jars that we just simply painted and put some new knobs on. Those turned out super cool. And the tins, the round tins, oh my gosh, I think those might be my favorite transformation just because we literally gave them a whole new look. So, and then of course our little, I'm gonna call it my watercolor tin plate, pie plate. It's not really a pie plate because it's my watercolor tin, but anyway, y'all are gonna have to let me know what was your favorite of the 5. Alrighty friends, that is going to wrap up our projects for this week. I hope that y'all enjoyed this, and I hope I gave you a little bit of inspiration if you have one of those drab, boring decor pieces that you used to love and you don't love it so much anymore. Maybe try just giving it a little facelift and putting some different makeup on it. I think it's really cool that we can take these pieces and transform them and then enjoy them again in our decor. And I am definitely going to enjoy all of the pieces that we upcycled today. It makes me feel good knowing that I was able to just upcycle them, recycle them, use them again, and enjoy them in my decor. So I hope that this gave y'all some inspiration, and if you've got those pieces hiding in a closet, go pull them out and give them some new life. Oh, just one more thing. I would like to thank all of you who have signed up for our membership program. I am so excited. We have our first live workshop coming up. It is going to be so much fun. It is on January 26th at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I will be sending out a members only community post. So y'all be looking for that. Hopefully you will get it in your feed. If you have your notifications turned on, you should get it. It should pop up in your YouTube feed. So hopefully everyone will get that. It will have all of the details about the workshop and all of the supplies that you will be needing. And if I do have your email address, I will send you an email as well with that list. And if you would like to get on my email, our members only email list, please go ahead and just reach out to me via my email, which will be listed in the description box right underneath this video, and then I can get you on that email list. And I think it'll just be a lot easier to email everyone, all of our members, with the reminders and supply lists and all of that kind of thing. So if you are not a member yet and you would like to be, and you would like to come join us on the 26th for our first live workshop, you can go to my homepage on my YouTube channel, click on the little join tab, and it'll take you through the tiers that we have, and just like that, you can get signed up. So if you would like to be a member, go ahead and check that out. We are going to have a blast this year working on our workshops. I'm super, super excited. So again, thank you so much for all who have joined. I cannot wait to see you on the 26th for our first live workshop. Alrighty, friends, I will see you all again next week. We've got some fun projects, or a fun, cool project coming your way. So y'all come back, see me again next week. Until then, take care, and I will see y'all soon. Bye.